So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Jamie Etherington, who's Managing Director at Thirsk Decorating Centre. So, Jamie, thank you so much for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Thirsk Decorating Centre, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, hi Chris. Thanks for having me on. I am Jamie Etherington, as Chris just mentioned, and my business is our family business. Is Thirsk Decorating Centre Limited, which is a little paint shop and hardware store in Thirsk. I'm actually generation three of the Etheringtons.
Wow.
My granddad started the business making wax polish and French polish in his garage
Wow.
back in the 80s. My father Roger, who's still the real boss, is still in the business. He moved us into paint back in 2007. I think we
Wow.
opened the first Farrow Ball store. I joined him just after that. I've been in and out of the business a couple of times, but I came back just towards the end of COVID,
Yep.
which is when I took up my role as managing director to steer us through the end of that and try and keep us growing onwards and upwards like we have done since then. Um, as mentioned, we're a store selling paint, wallpaper, decorating supplies. We do colour consultancies. We deliver in the local area. We've got six paint mixing machines so far,
Oh,
hoping to add
no.
some more.
Yep.
So we can, we have all the main trade brands: Dulux, Johnstones, Crown. The designer brands, we've got Farrow Ball and Little Greene, Paper Library, Edward Bulmer we've just added, and then all your classic accessories. So yeah, we kind of tick all the boxes. We're pretty good price wise. We can compete with the big guys, which is thankful. And we just got a great little shop in the area. And we've just gone from strength to strength over the last whatever it's been now, 17 years of selling paint. It's
Brilliant.
we're doing pretty well.
Wonderful. And you've got an on. We were just talking before we started. You've got an online presence as well.
We do, yeah. So back in this will be 2022, we launched a new business called Splat Decorating Supplies,
Brilliant. Well, no.
which is just our sister company. So that trades online. We've one of the ways that we looked at trying to keep growing and keep adding the turnover throughout the back end of throughout COVID was to sell online. We were quite lucky that we actually operated an ordering system at Thirsk Decorating Centre. So we
Brilliant.
just had a couple of us in the shop, and
Yep.
we had our store manager Mark, and my dad mainly in the shop answering the phone and looking at emails and just mixing paint, putting in boxes and stacking them all outside the shop for people to come and collect.
Brilliant.
Which worked really well, but it completely overwhelmed the guys.
Yes.
Because as everyone knows, we all found out how to decorate our houses again through
Yes,
through
it was a
COVID and
boom time,
lockdown.
wasn't it?
It became quite the trend. So we noticed obviously a lot of business pushing online. So we
Yep.
had to become part of it, and it's been a bumpy ride. It's not as easy as just creating a website and waiting for people to come and buy paint from you.
Yep.
There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of, and it's a world of phrases and stuff that you just have never heard of before in business. Like
Yep.
SEO, PPC,
Yep.
Google. Everyone wants your money. Everyone wants your money to sell something, and it's a complete new dimension of learning how to trade in a new
Yes.
world. In a new world, and you can't just pop round the 20-mile radius and make sure that your prices are kind of right with all your competitors. You've got to check everyone in the country,
Yes. Of course.
including Amazon, including eBay.
Yes.
You're at competition with everyone in the country, and it's been quite overwhelming at times.
Yeah.
But
Can
it's
imagine.
yeah, again, it's good. I'm really glad we did it because it's meant that we've got a new avenue, you know, and
Yep.
it keeps us busy, it keeps the turnover going in the right direction. And it's these challenges are good for us, aren't they? You know, we don't want to be too comfortable all the time.
Absolutely. It's yeah. Sometimes it feels better if we get on a few less, but yeah.
Mm,
I it's funny actually. I remember what this previous CEO of my organisation, Action Coach. He said to me, he said, "Chris, the job of a business owner is to solve problems." So
yeah,
he basically said, if you don't like problems, it's probably best not being in business.
yeah,
But what I've come to believe since then, Jamie, is that problems are caused by growth. And so, to some extent, if we don't have enough problems, we're probably not growing as fast as we probably could.
yeah.
So, problems are ultimately good. They just don't always feel like that when they turn up at like 10 o'clock at night and something's gone wrong, and etc. etc. But they probably are growth related. So,
It's
um,
normally when you're on holiday, I find that these problems
yes,
normally rear their heads just as you've
absolutely,
landed in a different country, uh,
absolutely,
and then the phone goes and you go, ah.
yes, that, yeah,
But yeah, so that we added that in a couple of years, well, nearly 3 years ago now,
yeah,
and to obviously that's grown a lot. Thirst Decorating Centre has grown a lot, and so we've actually added the third Etherington to the family business. About last April, my younger brother Robbie has
brilliant,
joined the team, so that makes three of us, three of us involved, along with our awesome staff. You know, to try and carry on pushing on to the next level.
brilliant, brilliant. Well, look, if we you obviously give us a bit of a potted history. How about your own history in terms of, you said you've been in and out of the business. What give us a little bit of update on your background, and obviously
So,
we know why you got into this particular business, but why is it right for you?
so I started my working life at 14 as a fishmonger, actually,
Oh wow,
in my local village where my mum lives, in Snape. There's a fruit and veg and fish stall called Carrick's.
right,
And I wandered up into the yard when I was just before my 14th birthday to ask for a job. And I think the weekend after I started my first 12-hour shift, loading fruit and vegetables onto a stall for, I think what I remember now was about £25
brilliant,
for
brilliant,
the day, which I thought was absolutely cracking.
absolutely.
Yeah, walking back down the village with all my pound notes in my hand, thinking, who needs pocket money? Looking back, I don't think I'd get out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning now for £25. So,
No,
but yeah, you know, I did that for 4 years. I did that
yeah,
for 4 years. Mainly weekend and holidays through school and college. But that, you know, if there's one way of learning how a work ethic
yes,
and selling and like the basics of business, it's
yeah,
getting out of bed at 3:30 in the morning in February and then standing in a back of a fish wagon covered in ice for the next 14 hours. And then going home and getting up again the next morning at the same time and doing the same thing again. Yeah.
brilliant, brilliant.
So yeah, I then left there when I was just before I was 18 to my dad. I left college and I was speaking with my dad, and there was an opportunity for me to join the family business. At that point, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
I'd thought about uni. Um, it wasn't the right thing for me at that time. Didn't know what I wanted to do, and in all honesty, I think there'd just been a big student loan expenditure on alcohol for the next 3 years.
yes,
While I left with some debt and still not really knowing what I was meant to be doing, so we decided that would be the best course of action, and that was me. Then I was there for, which was Riding at the time. We were called Riding Limited,
right, yeah,
and we did wood finishing, abrasives, a bit of paint, but the main core of the business was wood finishing.
yeah.
I think into the wood finishing industry, kitchen manufacturers, and spraying, and all of that stuff. And I was then there for until 2017 when we sold that part of the business. So our
Oh,
main supplier, Morel's Wood Finishes, who were one of the biggest in the country,
yeah,
bought the industrial part of the business from my dad.
Right.
And bought me as part of the fixtures and fittings.
Right.
So I went off to work for Morel's.
Got you.
Yeah, I was their one of their regional managers, looking after Yorkshire and the Northeast for a couple of years. Before I went to work for a customer in Leeds, WSG Interiors, who do commercial interiors, so commercial interiors and office fit outs. So I joined them, and again, I did 2 years with those guys as one of their sales directors.
Yeah.
Looking after mainly London, selling joinery packages and overseeing the projects and everything. And then obviously COVID hit.
Yeah.
That was a lot of working from home for WSG. Obviously, my dad managed with the shop being closed. And then my dad, unfortunately, got diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2020, which he's doing great with it.
Good.
But diagnosis number one from the doctor was you need to remove all forms of stress from your life.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of people that will be listening know that being your own boss is the first and biggest stress in your life. So
yes,
that was the first thing. We had a phone call, and I was unsure where I was going with WSG. So I came back to help him out so that he could do less. He's still involved and still wants to be involved, and still pulls all of my strings. I just get to deal with all the stress.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
brilliant.
But yeah, and that was at that point I guess I'd kind of figured out what I wanted to do in some sense, and my time away from working for myself, as much as there's the negatives of all the extra time, the hours, not always earning as much as you think you should be earning from all the work that you're doing.
Yes.
The rewards completely outweigh that. And I guess I needed a few years in the corporate world earning more money, but lining someone else's pocket.
Yeah.
To realize that actually the benefits of working for yourself are just much more, your life is much more balanced.
Brilliant.
You can just have the job's more rewarding. You get to kind of steer your own ship in your own kind of direction. You get to see and feel the benefit of the customers that you help, and the client projects that you're on is kind of all kind of come from kind of, I guess, stems from your development of the business.
Yes.
And you also have, I guess, ultimate flexibility. Like I'm left the office early today to come home and get ready for an interview with you. Can't do that. If you work for someone else, they go, no, you're in the office till 5. You have to organize it your own way. So all those little things that you kind of, I guess, you take for granted when you work for your dad. As a teenager, you take all those little bits and pieces for granted until they all get taken away and you earn more money. But you go, oh, but I wanted to nip off early today to go to the doctor's, or take the dog out, or we're off out for a meal, or we're going away for the weekend. And it's just all that's
brilliant.
Take some holiday, take it unpaid. So, it really does balance it out. And enjoyed it more than I ever have done. Enjoying it more than I ever have done at the moment.
Brilliant. That's got a great advertisement for business ownership right there. Love it. And looking back over the history of the business, and obviously your involvement in it, but what are some of the biggest issues that you've had to overcome over time?
I mean, the biggest issues are generally it's moving onwards all the time. I guess we're in retail.
Yeah.
And you can't stand still.
No. You
can't stand still, and it's I guess one of the biggest challenges is making sure that you're on the cusp of the latest products, but without just buying them all. You can't stock everything, and picking the right product to have on the shelf that's going to keep customers happy, but not just sticking with something that works, because it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And that's become even more difficult since COVID struck, because everything seems to move so much faster, you know, world and products and updates. And it's an industry that, as I mentioned before, people now care about much more about their homes and what their homes look like and how they're decorated and the products that they use. And because a lot of people work from home, my girlfriend spends 4 days of the week working from an office in the house, you know, so that office looks really nice.
Yeah.
But pre 2019, who cared?
Yeah.
We all left, went home. We only spent the weekend at home, and most people, my house included, was just white.
Yeah.
And I sold the stuff. So everyone cares a little bit more. So consumers know more about paint, and they know more about products, and they know more about the supplies, and they know more about the brushes and the rollers and all of these things. And you've got to make sure that you know all about it as well, because they're going to come in the shop and they're going to ask the question. If you don't know, they might go get it from somewhere else. Or they might go, well, these guys don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to go try someone else, you know. So I guess that's probably the biggest challenge of what I found in retail, is just the constant moving of it. It's always moving, and sometimes at a faster pace. And that leads you to the technology as well. You know, I'm only 34, but launching a website, I sit in some meetings with the companies that we use for our SEO and our PPC, and my head's like this because I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And it makes absolutely no sense to me, and it's like, it's amazing, but you know, I thought I was kind of up to date with technology, but you're just really not. You know, there's just so much learning that you've got to put in to make sure that you're not getting left behind, because it'll leave you behind.
100%. And it is that. It's that constant keeping us updated in knowledge. I think is really, really key, isn't it? It's because there's always more things to learn in business. You know, there's always new things developing. If we're not ahead, I mean, I was talking to someone earlier about, you know, the impact of AI in general, and I think if businesses aren't at least understanding some areas of where it might help them, could get left behind. You know, like going online. If businesses didn't go online, ultimately, most of them fared not as well as the ones that did.
We've just had it recently with eBay. You know, we've never sold on eBay. I've always looked at eBay as something that costs too much. But Robbie came in and said, you know, we should give eBay a go. So he's gone away and banged some of our products on eBay, and it's just absolutely taken off.
Really?
Go. Just because I didn't understand it and I didn't want to look at it, it's just been sat there, and then he's come in, stuck some products on there, and it's now, you know, rapidly increasing.
Brilliant.
And adding to the turnover of the business. You know, it's all those little things. And, you know, AI, you know, I've just started the beginning of this month. I can't remember what the app's called, but, you know, spending like 5 or 10 minutes a day just listening to how it works. Because exactly what you just said. You know, I've used bits and pieces of Chat GPT and other things, but my girlfriend uses this stuff and says you need to learn how to do it, because, you know, it's not that it saves you money, but it will help you grow faster.
Yes.
You know, it will do things for you. If you understand how to use it, it will do what, you know, you can't afford to pay people to do. Absolutely. You know, you can download your brain to it and it'll give you the answers. You know, but I'm still learning. But exactly. You know, you've got to, if I don't understand it quickly, my competitors are going to learn it, and then you're playing catch up, and playing catch up is a difficult game.
If we're not doing it, some of our competitors will be. That's the challenge, isn't it? And we've got to be out of it. And business in general, what would you say you've learned most about running and growing a business?
Ooh, what have I learned most about? I've learned the most from my dad, of course, because I've worked with him for so long. I think what I've learned the most is I was a salesman. I still am a salesman, but I was a salesman, only a salesman, I guess. When I started, I came from the market. I was young, I was energetic, I just ran in one direction, which was forwards, which, business needs that. Business needs
Yeah,
an undriving drive to go in a forwards direction.
absolutely.
What I didn't learn, and didn't really learn probably until I came back into the business, like 5 years ago, is that the mess or the chaos I left in my wake as I ran forward.
Yeah.
Running forward without preparation is just as bad as not moving forward,
Yeah.
because you sprint forward about 500 meters and get all these new customers and sell all these new things, and then you have the office on the phone going, "Who's this person? How much do they pay for this? Also, what is this?
Yes.
Didn't know we sold this." So you've got a quick U-turn and run back.
Brilliant.
So you end up going 500 meters forward and then 300 meters backwards to try and catch yourself back up again. So
Brilliant.
I think that the biggest lesson is prepare.
Yeah.
Is make sure that at least some things are in place.
Right.
Infrastructure needs to be there. Prepare, and then dive in.
Brilliant. Great. Absolutely. Let's do a little bit of prep, so we've got half a chance of getting it right the first time.
Yes, you can't just flood your business with sales. As great as that is, and that's
sounds great, but
that's what I love doing and what I still love doing. But yeah, if you're only set up to turn over, £15,000 a month, and you bring in 50 grand, you're going to start breaking things, and then you're going to start letting customers down, and not delivering, and your bank account's going to go under strain. It's all of those things is like, you just don't think about it. You don't think about it when you come in and go, "Oh, this is great. I'm just going to go sell.
Yeah.
I can sell what I want. I can sell it at the price I want it to sell." And then, then that happens. You suddenly realize I've only got one van. I can't deliver all this stuff. How is it going to get out? So I'm there in my car, loading it all in my boot, trying to drive it around all over the place. So I guess, preparation.
Brilliant. And I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation. I'm just keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
I've never worked with a business coach. My business coach is my father.
Yep.
Roger Etherington, whose
Brilliant.
business coach was his father, Jeffrey Etherington.
Brilliant.
So we just have generational business coaching going on, really. Life coaching, I would imagine, probably the best coach I've recently started actually using a personal trainer.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a bit of a endurance athlete.
Oh, okay.
So I'm running Leeds Marathon this year for the third time, which will be my sixth marathon.
Brilliant.
And I've decided that at the age of 34 that I want to start being competitive, which some say is a little bit late to start being competitive, but I disagree. And I also want to move on to Ironmans and some ultra marathons, etc.
Wonderful.
Most of this was brought on because I have a health condition called ulcerative colitis, very similar to Crohn's. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's an irritable bowel disease.
Yes.
Which is kind of an unresearched illness. And I found a guy at my local gym who does personal training, but he's also big into nutrition.
Yeah.
And I guess natural ways of combating the microbiome and all this stuff. And it's really fascinating, the stuff him and his partner run a program. So I recently joined those guys, and I'll be 4 months into being with him, and about five weeks into being with both of them on the nutrition plan. And it's changing my life is probably the best way of putting it, really.
Brilliant.
Just having some people that finally, and nothing against the medical professions in our country, but if there's no medical cure, there's not much they can do for you, which is, I guess, is a downside of the system rather than the people, the professionals that are in there.
Yes.
And having a couple of people that, because this illness isn't going to kill me, it just can be a bit debilitating sometimes.
Yeah.
and having some people that are just willing to throw some ideas and go, we know all of this stuff. If you try this, it might work, it might not. If it doesn't, we'll try something else, and we'll try
Yeah.
something else, and we'll try something else. So that's probably that's the only, really the only coaching that I've ever paid for and done professionally. And I guess with a lot of things like that, you sit back after what I've been now 4 months in and go, should have done this about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Should have done this about 10 years ago. It is worth the money.
Great. Great. Well, I'm really glad you found someone that can help you with that situation, because I know it's nothing. It's something that if you can, I guess, if you can find things that work for you, that's going
Yeah,
to make a big difference.
exactly. I mean, it's in some ways, it's it's similar to you've got to be committed. You've got to be committed to your body. I guess you've got to be committed to your body, and just like we were talking about with business, I've got to put you got to put the work in. It's
Yeah.
not. You've got to lose some things that you like eating. You've got to eat some things that you might not like eating. You've got to do things that you've got to do things that you don't necessarily find comfortable.
Yeah.
But in it's all working towards my health.
Yeah. Brilliant.
If you're gaining a few years at the other end, it's worth the sacrifice, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Brilliant. And do you have any favourite quotes or sayings that you catch yourself using a lot, especially around sort of business in general?
Yeah. My favorite quote is one that I know it coming from my father. I don't know where he's got it from, but it is that turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. And that's something that he's driven into me since I was 17 years old when he started.
Brilliant.
That little phrase. I've been told that a few times a year for the last 17 years anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a great one because it does. We can get, especially driven people. You mentioned your own drive. We can be focused on, the thing that we want to achieve, grow bigger, get more revenue, get more revenue.
Yeah.
But it's really
If you're not making any money, it's kind of pointless how much you
hard
turn it
work.
over.
I got a great, funny enough, on to that. I work with a joinery business in York, and I remember he coined the phrase "that's hard work for nails,"
Yeah.
which I quite like, which directly relates to like turnover without profit. It's just hard work for now, which is interesting. And how about books? If any favorite books on success, personal development, business that you'd recommend?
Um, Books wise, probably I don't know how many I've read on business. The 5 a.m. Club is a favorite of mine. I've
Yeah,
never read. I've audiobooked it 3 times. I think I'm on my third time through it at the
brilliant.
moment. That one really fascinates me, mainly because I get up at 5 a.m. anyway. So it kind of, I guess it justifies the reason as to why I get
Yes.
up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm one of very few people I know that do that. So it makes me feel like a little bit less of a weirdo listening to a book of people that do the same thing, as I'm going to bed at 9:30 while all my friends are just sitting down on the sofa. Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And speaking of learning in general, what have you learned? We touched on this a bit early, but what have you learned about yourself on your journey so far?
What have I learned about myself? That I am quite a good people person. I'm good at customer relations. I'm good at just dealing with people in general and reading people, which is, and I guess also being very much a mediator, being the calming presence in the room at all times, which is a skill I kind of probably took for granted for a long time until I was probably in WSG when I first started managing people properly.
Right.
And you realize that that's actually being calm does work.
Yes.
Being able to control temper and although you kind of again probably went through a lot of my life thinking that I was probably a bit soft because some people like react immediately, but just being calm and cool and collected is
Yes.
if you overreact to everything all the time, you don't go very far forward,
No, I
and it's very hard to get people on board with you if you upset them or
yeah,
rub them up the wrong way. So that's one thing I've learned with. The other thing, I guess, is that my dad is better than me at doing the accounting, so that's why he still does the accounting.
brilliant.
There's some things I'm better at than him, and some things he's better than me. So we very much still I have sales operations, and he is the financial director, and I guess that's something that and I guess that's for all of us. There's some tasks that we just don't like, and I just don't like it. I don't like admin. I don't like all of that bits and pieces. I like operations. I like sales. I like being in front of a customer, and I like selling. And luckily, those aren't his favorite parts.
Yeah,
So we work quite well as a team.
brilliant. It's a foolish. I don't know who the idea that we should strengthen our weaknesses is compared to I think it's Brian Tracy talks about the most successful organizations are the ones where most people spend most of their time doing the three things they really love and they're really good at.
Yeah,
Let's not try and get better at something we don't like. Let's just be good at the stuff. Let's just get better at stuff we really like. Well, that's fun. That's not even work, is it? Like,
and that was going to lead me on to, I guess, surrounding yourself with people that can do the things that you're not very good at,
absolutely.
or can do things better than you can, and focus on the things that you just. And again, one of the huge benefits of having your own business is you choose what your job role is.
Yeah.
Apart from ultimately being head of everything, you choose what part of the business you want to be involved in the most. You can choose if you want to be a sales fronting director, a financial director, a operational director. You want to be the accountant. You decide what part of the business you want to do.
Yeah.
And you then find people that do all the other bits and do them as good as they can, and then trust them, rely on them, and just help them help you.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Don't micromanage. Give them some tasks and just let them get on with it. And obviously monitor for a distance, but that's what people are good at. And if you let them flourish and let them leave them to their own tasks, most people will do a good job.
Yeah, it's funny. I personally believe, and I say to a lot of people I work with that my belief is there's no such thing as micromanagement. There's management to the frequency of management should be directly related to the performance of the individual. So if you're high performing, it would make sense to step back and let you get crack on with it. If you're not performing, it's sensible we meet quite regularly to keep your performance going. So it's directly related to your own personal performance. And if you don't want to be managed too frequently, then just deliver.
Exactly.
It's quite simple, really. And that's a grown-up conversation. Being, as you said, being calm. It's I'm not micromanaging you. I'm just managing it because of the level of performance you're currently delivering. So pick out whatever you like from that. But we'll talk about that again tomorrow. And looking forward, Jamie, what's the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
I mean, the challenges that will be always the same, carrying on us being able to carry on moving forward. Competition is probably our biggest challenge in business. We're quite lucky in that we have Thirsk only has one decorating centre. If there's two decorating centres, that's going to be a challenge that we foresee, but we don't plan for. You can't plan for it. It could happen at any moment. But what the future holds is just us carrying on in the same direction. We're going to be just about online for doubling turnover of the business from 2020, start of 2020 to the end of 2025. So we're on course for doubling our turnover in 5 years. And we plan on continuing that
Brilliant.
a little bit longer before we, while we've got me and well, obviously Robbie with the business, and I, like I say, I'm still young.
Yep.
We plan on carry on driving us forwards. That might be, more pushing more online. That might be some new decorating centres. Who knows? At this present moment in time, we just waiting for the opportunities to arise, and when the opportunity arises, we jump on them.
Brilliant, brilliant. And what I'm keen to know what advice you give to anyone that was thinking of starting a business right now.
Think carefully about what your business is going to do, what then someone else's doesn't.
Great. Right. Yeah. So fine.
And that might be, it doesn't mean you need to invent a new business or a new business idea. But if you're going to open a paint shop, why is your paint shop better than my paint shop?
Yeah.
Because if you open a paint shop and base it on my paint shop's always going to be better than yours because I was there first.
Brilliant.
If you've got an idea, it's, business is great. And, I would always encourage people to start their own businesses, but just make sure you know what your USP is.
Yeah.
You've got to decide whether it's going to be price, it's going to be service, it's going to be, whatever the list is.
Yeah.
Make sure that whatever it is that you're good at is your USP, because that's the only way you're going to get people to come back to you over and over again. And the only way you're going to compete with every industry has giants. And the only way to compete with them is to offer something that they can't.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Love it. And finally, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that?
Oh, wow. There's lots of advice I'd give 18-year-old me. Business-wise, I think we've already touched on it. Slow down. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's lots of people that can help you, will help you, and will give you advice. Don't feel like you're going to look stupid by asking a question instead of looking stupid because you haven't asked the question. You've ran blindfolded into the middle of nowhere, and then you got to pick up the pieces, and then the people have got to help you. You'd have looked much less stupid if you just asked the question, and some people would have probably given you some sound advice.
Brilliant. Great advice. Wonderful. Thank you. So thank you so much for that. It's been really fascinating talking to you, and congratulations on the growth that you've achieved, and I'm sure will continue to achieve. And for anyone that's watching right now, Jamie, that's interested in contacting you or the business, what would be the best way to do that?
Get contacting me or the business. So my email is jamie at Thirsk Decorating Centre.co.uk. So you can get me on my email there, or the landline for the shop is 01845 440 668. And like I say, we're located in Thirsk, the old sorting office, which is on Newsham Road, which is opposite the Tesco Megastore. So you can't really miss us.
Brilliant. Well, it'd be great to swing by another 6-12 months and just see how things are progressing and developing. But
that'll be great. Yeah.
But for now, thank you so much.
No problem at all. Cheers, Chris.
Cheers.